Patriots Nation, there is a different vibe in Foxborough today, that big game energy in the air and a lot happening behind the scenes. We've got news that could shake up the offense, medical decisions that might flip the game plan on its head, and even a possible familiar face popping back up on the radar. On top of that, there's a quiet defensive move that could be crucial when January football arrives. Are you really ready for a hard reality check about this team? You won't believe what we've got today, so get comfortable, drop a like, and let's jump straight into it. This first injury report heading into the Bengals matchup says a lot more than just who did or didn't practice. On paper, it looks calm. Nobody listed as a did not participate, everyone showing up on the field. But when you see Ramondre Stevenson and Austin Hooper among the limited guys, you immediately understand the plan might change. This is the kind of week that starts to separate a ready team from one that's just dreaming. The biggest point is Ramondre. Ever since he showed up on the report with that toe issue, the offense has lost some of its physical identity, its ability to finish off opponents by running with authority. With the weather getting colder and a defense on the other side that is dead last in the league against the run, seeing Stevenson back even on a limited basis is almost like sounding an alarm across Cincinnati. If he's anywhere close to 100%, the entire game changes. You control the clock, take pressure off Drake May, and force the Bengals defense to load the box. Vrabel stayed true to his style and didn't hand anyone easy information. He said everybody would work, that the staff will see how their bodies respond and then decide. In fan language, that means the situation is encouraging but not guaranteed. When your head coach makes it clear that no one is being pushed through pain just for the sake of it, that shows confidence in the process and in deeper rotation. These walking wounded are being managed to be at their best in the stretch run, not just thrown out there in desperation. And then there are two other situations that change the conversation: Hooper and Bout. The tight end, even in a non-contact jersey, returning to the field after a concussion is huge for a young quarterback. On third down, security is everything, and Hooper is that guy who settles into the soft spot of the zone, absorbs the hit, and keeps the drive alive. Meanwhile, Kayshon Boutte, listed as a full participant, is exactly the type of receiver who can torture a Bengals secondary that has been bleeding yards and touchdowns. He takes some pressure off Stephon Diggs, opens space for Demario Douglas, Mac Hollins, and rookie Kyle Williams, and gives May one more trustworthy option in the progression. Now add all of that to the other side of the report: Trey Hendrickson and Cam Taylor-Britt starting the week as non-participants. If the Bengals' top pass rusher and an important corner come into this game banged up or not playing at all, the scale tilts even more toward New England. More time in the pocket for May, more windows for Boot to attack, more impact from a physical run game with Stevenson or the rest of the rotation. With this health context on both sides, this looks like the perfect setup for a mature statement win that locks in this team's contender status once and for all. Buckle up, because now the conversation jumps to another level. While all the focus this week is on the Bengals game, a move down in New Orleans has lit up a warning light in Foxborough. Brandon Cooks, a former first-round pick, fast, experienced, and used to heavy systems, has been released by the Saints. And before anyone says, yeah, but he's not the Cooks from 2017 anymore, that's exactly where the story gets interesting for the rest of the AFC. The release wasn't really about performance. It was about context. The Saints are out of the race, Cooks wants to chase a ring, and New Orleans chose to do what a lot of respected teams do: let a veteran go pick his contender. Drake May is playing at an MVP level, but the wide receiver room still doesn't have that pure burner who can destroy defenses vertically on any snap. Diggs is still efficient, Boot is ascending, and Douglas is that little engine who annoys every secondary. But what's missing is pure speed, the guy who scares a defense before the ball is even snapped. When you think about pairing one of the most accurate deep passers in football with a veteran who still runs elite routes, the math adds up quickly. Cooks is no longer a 1,000-yard WR. He doesn't need to be. He would be the perfect depth upgrade, filling that Nelson Aguilar role, but with more intelligence, more experience, and familiarity in a structure he already understands. Vrabel and this staff have been placing a huge premium on players who deliver the little things: alignment, timing, discipline. Cooks checks all those boxes. There's another angle that doesn't show up on a stat sheet, but it stands out if you've been tracking the vibe in the locker room. May is ready for more responsibility. Giving him another vertical weapon accelerates his growth while punishing defenses that have already started to loosen up on deep coverage against New England. With Cincinnati, the Jets, Bills, and Chiefs still on the schedule, that kind of reinforcement changes the defensive math for every coordinator they face. Now picture it as a fan. Play action. Diggs dragging a safety to one side, Douglas working the slot, Boot attacking the intermediate window, and Cooks exploding down the sideline. That not only opens up the offense, it creates a hidden strategic edge that often decides tight playoff games in January. And remember, Cooks gets to pick his contender. If he's serious about winning right now, is there a more logical destination than a 9-2 team with a quarterback playing out of his mind? While a lot of people only focus on the biggest names on defense, a quiet move this week might have a direct impact on the stretch run. You know, that type of addition nobody talks about in November, but that becomes a key piece when January rolls around? That's exactly what this return of John Saunders Jr. to the Patriots practice squad feels like. And if you're thinking this is just a paper move, the story goes deeper than that. This kid was on New England's radar long before he made it to the 53-man roster. He came in for a pre-draft visit, impressed with his versatility, and fits perfectly into what Mike Vrabel and Terrell Williams want on defense. When your head coach is obsessed with multiplicity, every player who can handle multiple roles becomes pure gold. Saunders isn't just a safety, he can play free, strong, over the slot, and has snaps at corner. A piece like that gives you freedom to play with rotations, disguises, and matchups across the field. Look at the timing. He was waived from the 53 as part of late-week roster shuffling, but he had just been active for the game against Tampa Bay. That is not common. A guy who you dress on game day and then quickly bring back into the system isn't just a body. He's a real project. Someone they're grooming to become a situational weapon when things get serious. His background backs that up. At Ole Miss, he led the SEC in turnovers in 2024. Interceptions, forced fumbles, recovered balls, all the stuff that separates good defenses from great ones in the playoffs. Even coming in as an undrafted guy, Saunders has real playmaking instincts, that aggressive trigger the fan base has been missing since the best days of Devin McCourty. Why does that matter right now? Because the Patriots secondary is producing at a very high level, but depth is something you only notice when you don't have it. Jalen Hawkins and Craig Woodson are balling out. Del Pettis is growing every week. Schooler fills that hybrid role well, and Marty Mapu gives the back end rare flexibility, but one injury in the wrong spot or one nasty matchup and Saunders becomes an immediate game day elevation candidate. With the Bengals, Bills, and Chiefs still ahead, you need exactly this type of versatile defender to handle offenses that stretch the field every drive. You might think you've already understood all the defensive moves this week, but there is a second layer to this John Saunders Jr. story that deserves full attention. When a team is fighting for a high seed in the AFC, every detail on the back end of the roster says a lot about what they really expect to face in December and January. This back and forth with Saunders, bouncing between the 53 and the practice squad, says a lot about how New England plans to handle the explosive offenses on the horizon. Vrabel and Terrell Williams want a defense that confuses opponents, one that can line up light, heavy, or hybrid looks, all within the same drive. Saunders is the prototype for that philosophy. He isn't just another safety. He's a tactical tool, a Swiss Army knife, a defender you can slide into the slot, drop into a deep zone, match up on a physical tight end, or send off the edge on a pressure. Players like that expand the playbook. That is a strategic resource, not a luxury piece. His college path at Miami, Ohio, and Ole Miss shaped a player who lives off anticipation. 11 picks, 25 pass breakups, and a pile of forced turnovers don't happen by chance. The ability to read routes, attack the catch point, and create chaos even when a play looks under control is exactly what separates the guys who just dress in January from the ones who actually decide those games. You can also see that the coaching staff sees something very specific in him: resilience paired with football IQ. Getting cut, re-signed, activated, and then returned to the practice squad is not punishment. It's targeted development. The staff knows they're going to need real depth in the secondary, especially against offenses that hunt mismatches and force you to defend grass you don't even want to cover. Fans who pay attention have already seen this pattern. Every time a player bounces up and down like this, it usually means there's trust, but also that the team is juggling roster spots for other immediate needs. When the right game shows up, whether it's because of an injury, a particular matchup, or a specific game plan, Saunders is going to be one of the first names in line to come up. And you can say it without hesitation. If this kid is activated for a big game, it won't be just to fill numbers, it will be for impact, to create noise. Maybe, just maybe, to be that unexpected piece that blows up a critical drive in a playoff game decided by a single possession. After a day full of signals, moves, and possibilities, it's clear this team is far from showing everything it has. the health of key pieces, the real chance of adding speed to the offense, the smart depth building in the secondary, and the quiet long-term planning from this coaching staff all point to a group ready to take the next step. Now, the question is simple. Which one of these storylines is going to turn into the moment that changes the season? Let me know what you think in the comments. Hit that like button, subscribe, and stay with us all the way through this run.